there. I think we all are.
It's all
I
right.
went for a little run. I'm
That's
kind of
oh,
dead.
I remember this.
Let's
now.
go.
All right.
So do you
Can
have
can you guys see my screen?
board?
I'm recording. Don't worry.
Yes.
All right. Any of you guys go to DreamHack?
No,
Sadly,
unfortunately.
no.
Nobody. Oh,
Watched
man.
some of the
Doing
OWCS stuff.
very.
It was good.
Yeah, we did pretty good.
Yeah, I saw.
Um,
It's not bad.
I think it's kind of hard to beat people if they're Korean, but you know,
That
happens.
is unfair. You know.
It would have been
Yeah.
interesting to see if there was like a third Korean slot.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
you're from the gamer would have been.
I mean, I know
I would have
for
been.
probably like a fact that some of the teams are probably worse than like the third best Korean team. But I also think that there's an element of like fairness and allowing different regions to have a certain amount. So, you know, kind of makes sense. But I think the teams who got first and second, it's like pretty reasonable that they got first and second, you know?
Yeah, eventually this would have been
Um,
interesting to have a third team to see how they match up against like a non-Korean super team.
So I actually don't know. I'm assuming we want to look at yellow team here.
Yeah.
Or is it better to look at blue team? Because I think we have quite a few people from both teams in here right now, right?
It's only one
Blue
ringer in
team
this
today.
map.
Blue team would be better.
Okay. Cool. Look at blue
So
team.
yellow team had live coaching from another one of our coaches.
Okay, who was coaching yellow team?
Their name is Dead Baker. They're kind of underrated.
Dead what?
Baker.
Baker? Like baking
Yeah.
bread?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
likes to
gotcha.
cook.
That guy is pretty good.
No, I'm not familiar with them. Although I'm not familiar with a lot of people. Let's be honest.
I
Yeah.
don't think.
He also hasn't coached in a while, so don't feel bad.
Gotcha. Okay. So I think the default positioning that we have here for defense looks pretty reasonable. Comp also looks fairly reasonable as well. This is kind of like the classic on a bird comp is what I would say. At least for Overwatch 2, this is like the classic one. Really good read by our Winston to get that kill. Looks pretty good. If yellow team has a coach, I'm assuming they're calling for a Genji swap sometime soon. Yeah, so one thing that like, so there's like two sides to every coin, you know? Like sometimes you need to be able to recognize your opponent's strengths, especially depending on like their comp. And then other times you also need to be able to notice their weaknesses, which maybe like your comp doesn't necessarily have a strength in a certain category, but because your opponent has a weakness in a certain category, that now becomes an advantage for you, even though it's not necessarily built into your comp. Does that make sense to you guys? So for us, for instance, we're playing a very standard defensive sided comp with like the Ashe and stuff. Do you guys notice anything about the yellow team's comp that's a little bit interesting that we can probably exploit?
Ana Lucio.
Ana Lucio's one part of it, yeah. There's also another
Echo
important part
or
as well.
Genji.
The Genji, definitely.
Yes.
Echo or Genji? What does that mean?
Hello? I am here.
Hello?
Genji's pretty bad,
Hello.
but
How
How's
may
it
I help?
going?
they don't have anyone to release.
It's going good. How are you?
Doing good. You want to hop in for this VOD?
If that's what you want, if you want me to be here.
I'm just saying, like, I don't mind who joins. Anyone's welcome
you're
to hang
fine,
out.
Baker. Just chill.
Okay. Okay. Well, I was just chilling to mostly do other things, and I'm doing a comp match right now, but I was told to join, so.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I think.
Sure. works for me.
Hi, Baker.
Hi. I will be muted. I will be quiet.
No worries.
The Echo doesn't. Well, actually, that's not true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
just-
something about yellow team's comp that's like pretty
Just
concerning,
Genji.
I would say.
You can't deflect.
Yeah, I would say Genji, but if they
The
move
Genji
fast,
is,
it wouldn't
I
matter.
would say the Genji's a slight weakness, in my opinion.
You can't.
I would
because you
say-
can dynamite him and you can.
It's not
Don't
really the
get
dynamite, it's actually the Winston.
Yeah, it's both.
Because like this character on engages, Genji is a character that like doesn't really like to be far away from you, you know? He likes to set up and crash on top of you. And a character like Winston, with his ability to just cleave and like hold his left click, it makes it really hard for Genji to live on engages. So if you're playing some sort of Genji comp, I feel like Genji mentally is kind of like an investment. You know, it's like we're gonna play for some sort of all-in potential. The alternative way of playing a Genji versus some sort of all-in stuff, which if you guys watch the DreamHack games, you know, it's a lot of the Korean teams are running like Genji Malga versus us or something, right? Or even against each other. They're running like Genji Venture. And they were just doing 3, 2, 1, boom, and they were just green light, pull the trigger going, right?
Yeah.
But there's an alternative way to play Genji as well, which is more suited for like kind of brawl matchups and more flat maps, where you play the Genji almost like an answer to the hit scan, whether it's like a Sojourn. So like during the Mei Soj meta, there was a lot of like Genji JQ stuff that was played. But in this matchup, because it's dive versus dive, I feel like the Genji isn't super warranted, because I think it's very uncomfortable for a Genji player to play into a Winston in this kind of matchup. There's a much larger weakness though. This is something that we have to be able to spot, because It's like super important in my opinion.
No
So we
good
want to kind of think
heals for
about
the
like
Echo.
in the dive matchup, what are like the win conditions of a dive team? You know, in like sort of like a classic Winston versus Winston matchup, especially for like an escort
Space.
map. Space, okay, I could argue that's a win condition for basically every comp in Overwatch, right? There's like a specific character that has
Oh,
something to do
pushing
with
the
the
cart.
payload.
Yeah,
Tracer.
Yeah.
Cart push. Yeah. I
Notice
see
anything
it.
about Yellow Team's comp?
They don't have someone who wants to push the cart.
We don't have a cart pusher. Okay. Right. Now in the brawl matchup and on brawl like maps, sometimes Lucio will be like a pseudo cart pusher, right? But I would argue that there's probably nobody better in the game at like marking the payload or pushing the payload than Tracer. So if Yellow Team's investing in this kind of composition, there's obviously a few weaknesses, right? So the Ana is going to be a little bit destabilized because there's no brig. The Genji and the Echo are going to also be destabilized actually with the lack of a brig, because Lucio, if you just think about it logically, right? Brig can pack Genji or pack Echo and pack Ana. So she's super, super good at like stabling those three characters. In this composition, if we're running a Lucio, the Echo and the Genji and the Winston all need healing from Ana. Do you kind of see how that's tough to do? So I think Genji Lucio can play a little bit more together than probably like Lucio Echo, but your Echo in particular is probably going to be taking a lot of damage. So with our Ashe, with our Ana, with our Winston, we want to try to find timings to bully their Echo if possible, or bully their Genji. So I think blue team's comp here is like a lot better for sure. So we can attack the Ana if we find timings, which could be good. In this scenario here, I think it's important that we have information, right? I don't know if you guys saw them getting set up, like from this perspective, maybe you didn't. I think your Winston should be able to see them though. Like, oh my God, everyone's like going for a big 3-2-1. This is kind of what their comp wants to do, right? Because if they're able to engage on their timing and go in with like all four people, no one's pressuring the weakness, which is the Ana, because the Ana is really, really far away, you know, to be fair. So this kind of makes sense the way that Yellow Team's playing this, right? They're trying to go for a big 3-2-1 timing, the all-in sort of play style like we talked about, and now their Ana's actually being able to push the cart for free. Okay. Let's see if we absorbed this well enough. Okay. I don't like this passivity from our brig. I really want my brig to be like playing a little bit more open. At the very least, corner peeking with their shield. So like if you're playing brig, you can go into third person and peek around corners by holding right click. Even that could be useful. But I think playing this corner is like definitely not good. If you think about it, right? A lot of what this character does, especially when you retain a really good high ground, is making sure to stop engages like this. So even if we didn't know what the rest of their comp was, if we know they have a Winston, then one of our most primary responsibilities is booping this Winston's engage every single time. In theory, if this Winston's never jumping near us, we're always going to be near our backline. And if he's never jumping our backline, we're probably going to win the game. Does this make sense to you guys? So I think it for two major reasons. Number one, right? Like standing over here. Sorry, that was a weird sentence. There's two major reasons why I think standing on the left side of this opening is better than the right side. Number one, this angle feels way more comfortable to face and boop versus an angle like this, right? It's way harder to hit a boop like this. The second thing is that if you don't hit the boop and you have to kite away, you would rather kite this way than kite this way, right? Because it's like if your backline's getting dove on, like for example right now, if for whatever reason we don't hit the boop, do you guys kind of notice how we're sort of stuck like away from our team over here? And we would like to be over here somehow and like back up, hit an anti, get some trades, stuff like that, right? I think we should be able to win this if we can. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't play the engage optimally. We really need our brig to be in a different position, but it's also possible that we can go for a coach gun to stop the dive as well. It's not necessarily like a bad idea. Okay. Let's see. We only lost one person, right? It was our Ashe.
Yeah.
They lost their Genji and looks like their Echo as well. I think we should be really, really confident in like challenging the payload here. I don't think we should keep letting it get pushed. Okay, here this guy needs to die like ASAP. What is the correct protocol if you're on a brig and you get jumped on by a Winston and there's no other variables at in play?
You nade him and kill him.
Yeah, you guys walk on the Winston, right? Like you don't want to be afraid of the Winston. So I think a lot of support players is kind of programmed into their head. Oh my God, I'm getting dove by Winston. Let me back up. But if you're on a brig, you actually want to be the one pressuring the Winston, not the other way around. Is like how is how I like to think about it. So here, just play really, really, really aggressive. Yeah. So here, for example, if we start backing up like we're doing right now, when we hit this nade, you'll notice that we don't actually anti the Winston, right? This Winston is the one who needs to be afraid of you guys. So what I would have liked to see is the second this guy jumps in and we know he has absolutely no characters that can go with him, except for possibly a Lucio, but we should win this 3v2. We know that his Genji's dead. We know that his Echo's dead, but we decide to like respect this guy too much. Does that make sense? So I think we need to walk into him, and the more aggressively you walk in, the higher chance you have to hit a mutual grenade, right? The higher chance you have to hit the ground or hit the Winston and for it to splash and give you extra heals and anti him at the same time. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Here we only heal ourselves until the Winston's able to disengage. Not the end of the world, but now our Winston's going to die. Okay, how did our Winston die?
Oh no.
I hit my head on the lip of the wall, dude. I'm so mad.
Okay, this is I mean, the engage is okay. I don't know if it's a good idea to go for this jump in the first place, actually. One reason why is because I think it's reasonable to assume that the Echo Genji are going to be coming back soon, and maybe they find a timing to like catch you. The other thing is it's important to realize that if you're on a Briggs occupied with fighting something, they're not actively healing you. So you need to be really, really careful about how you kind of take these fights. I think what we can maybe have done is just used a bubble around the payload and just stabled around here. Or maybe even looked for like a kill on the Winston, but I think it's important for us to control the payload here because we just don't want it to push for free. Yeah, I see we might have bonked our head on something, but I also think that like we're pretty low HP to begin with in the first place, you know? So maybe we can play a little bit more passive in this position. As a general rule of thumb for you guys, I'm sure I've said this in an earlier VOD, but when you have a numbers advantage, you want to try to play with your numbers advantage. You don't want to take like isolated fights too much. So if both their DPS are dead, I think it's reasonable for like us to fight as a 4 and kind of like try to push for cart pressure first and take control of the objective and then kind of work our way back in. Here we end up doing like some sort of split, do some sort of backline trade, and we end up actually losing our tank in the process. So little bit risky. Okay. You guys might be fine here actually. Yeah, Anna Berg is really, really, really strong. That should be okay. Right, they have no stickies. We can look for like maybe an engage. This I'm not a huge fan of. Is Thumper here? I think Thumper's here, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. This I'm not a huge fan of because like if I go to overhead, it'll be really obvious, but you can kind of see how isolated we are. Got 1 blue circle and a sea of yellow. So
Yeah.
I think with something like this, if you're going to approach from an angle that's really aggressive in the first place, that's actually not that bad of a thing, right? Sometimes you're going to be in a position where you're just stuck in an aggressive angle and you want to like go take that angle. Where actually is Thumper right now?
I was barely survived the last fight.
Okay, okay.
So I got
all right, so
behind.
this actually like, yeah, this is a great teaching point, okay? So based on how the fight went, right, we ended up in a position where as a tracer, we just happened to be kind of like out of the fight and behind where the card is moving. This is something that might feel uncomfortable at first, but maybe it could actually be really valuable, right? So I think you would probably get more value from keeping your position, probably grabbing like a mega, going up these stairs, and then getting ready for a 3-2-1. And then when your monkey's ready to engage, you're like right here, ready to go, right? So you can kind of attack from an unexpected angle, and you can make the most out of an uncomfortable situation by using the position it gave you and like getting value from that, right? I think when you engage on this timing here, the problem with this is that it doesn't look to me like there was an obvious sort of call, right? Now, maybe you one-clip this Ana, and that's great. But even if you one-clip the Ana, I think that would still be a bad thing because like it's not really teaching you how to play properly. It's saying, hey, I can get away with this, right? But you can kind of see how like this is not a good usage of our CDs, not a good usage of our timing. We want to try to like make the most out of that position, I think. We managed to get out anyways, but now you'll notice, probably done this again in an earlier VOD, but if I can draw a line in between our dive and the enemy team, it's probably not a good thing, right? Because dive always wants like this sort of line. They want to be everywhere. They want to be surrounding you in some sort of capacity. And even if that's just attacking from 2 angles, that's still much better than 1. And I would argue that right now, both the dive teams are taking absolutely 0 space. I can basically draw a straight line inside of the 2 teams. Make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
So I think both teams should be looking to take angles and like try to get set up. And you know, have a better position. Nice, we get a good pulse. Lucio accidentally walks into their pulse, so that happens. I think if you do want to play an aggressive position, then what you can do as a tracer, right? If you're forced to attack with your team, is to try to find what I would call like a mini off angle, right? So maybe if there's a Winston right here, and then our Winston's here and our tracer's here, and we're just shooting forward. As a tracer, I would much rather be here in like this corner, basically, and like shooting the Winston like this. And the benefit of these mini off angles that you can find, and you can find these on basically every map, is it allows you to pressure the tank, right? And especially if it's like a ram or something, you can shoot him in the side or in the back where he's not able to block your damage. And your team has like this pinch like this. So even though it's a super, super tiny off angle, it still gets a lot of value. And you can't get shot by the enemy team because you're behind a corner. Okay? So if we are forced to attack with our team as a tracer, try to find these little mini off angles like here. This is great, right? We're playing in that little spot. No one's able to touch the cart. We should feel pretty happy about this, right? Monkeys trade bubble for bubble. That's fine. Okay. Little bit too ambitious with our tracer CD usage. We need to just kind of chill, right? We almost die there because we don't have recall. We don't have blink. So we kind of like blinked into the middle of their team. And I think us standing here and doing nothing is, you know, probably just as fine. Like we don't really need to do anything. Okay. All right, we're end up playing in this window, which is interesting. I think playing in the window is okay. I also think there's probably an argument for playing somewhere in this space, which lets you like rotate to here, throw a nade, or like heal from this direction. I think we probably want like either our Ash or our on a brig to be somewhere around here. I feel like would feel pretty decent. And then we would just have to make sure we mark the Genji angle to make sure we don't just get like hard dove. But let's see. We trade bubble for bubble. Looks pretty okay. Okay, they go for Nano Blade. We Nano Monkey. Great Nano, guys. Really good Nano. Yeah. So if the Genji bladed and tried to go on our on a brig, do you guys think we should Nano Monkey?
No.
Nano
No,
brig.
Right. Nice. Okay, good. Yeah, I like this Nano a lot. I think that's really smart. Nice. We counteract their Nano. Oh, this probably isn't necessary. Let's see. I wonder if we can just get our monkey up to full. After this, I really wonder if it's necessary for us to use our primal in this fight because we've already killed 2. So I think what I would be thinking about is maybe Thumper can just mark the objective. And then instead of us trying to look for more kills, let's try to find a timing to stabilize, right? So everybody else over here has full HP, but my monkey's really low. So maybe what I'd like to do is get back to my on a brig. Maybe like a jump back here could be good. Which would not only help us peel the nano, sorry, not the nano monkey, the primal monkey, right? But would also allow me to maybe get healed back up a little bit. Okay, and then we have to end up using our rally as well. Yeah, so I think nano for nano is not too bad. Rally for primal is also not too bad. So I mean, on paper we haven't really done anything too bad. I just wonder if we could maybe greed our primal a little bit. And get away with winning like a 2 versus 3 ult trade because they used blade and nano and primal. We used primal and nano and rally, which is fine. Like there's literally nothing wrong with that. So I think you guys played this fight great. Okay, this I'm not the biggest fan of. What do you guys think we should be doing right now?
Setting up.
Space.
Setting up. Okay, what does setting up mean?
Taking
In this
space that's
context.
advantageous for us to dive and look for opportunities.
Okay, cool.
Setting
And what position should we take in order to do that?
I feel like I maybe should have taken that that first high ground where like around where the tracer is maybe maybe on the
Where their
bridge.
tracer is?
No,
or
where
our tracer?
Yeah, maybe around in that
yeah.
area ish towards bridge.
Yeah, I
maybe.
think our entire team can like walk up a
Yeah,
lot
'cause we
farther.
can hop back pretty quick.
Oh, because yeah, 'cause they have
Right.
trouble pushing.
So
hard.
there's sort of this idea, right? And this is something that is very common on Flashpoint, I would say. But honestly, in like every mode of Overwatch, it's common. Where like if we draw the path of the bot like this, or not the bot, the if this is the path of the payload and over here is their spawn, then what we're essentially doing with our positioning is saying, okay, I'm going to control like the payload, right? I got my Onneberg over here. We're all controlling the space around the payload. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But the reason why it's suboptimal here is because if we're investing all of our resources in controlling this space, what we're essentially saying is you can make it to this red line for free. I'm not going to shoot you at all. I'm not even going to see you while you're taking this routing, right? You are going to get all this space for free, and then you're going to reach the objective. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, okay, Suji, that's fine, because we're playing to control that space anyways. Well, of course you are, right? But then ultimates come into the picture, okay? So, for example, what if this is a fight where they have, let's just say, 2 ultimates, okay? We are allowing them to get all the way to the objective and then invest their 2 ultimates, right? When instead, if we make them earn this initial space, maybe we force one of those ultimates early. So for example, if we set up in, aggressive positions, maybe control over this, maybe my monkey's playing like high ground somewhere ready to drop. If we set up a kill box and set up angles that control this space more, then maybe what the defending team has to do is use resources to take that space, right? Because we're no longer giving this for free. This is now something that they have to earn. So what they're going to do is say, oh, shoot, we got to earn this space somehow. We can't just go through them because they're obviously holding us. So what we're going to do is we're going to open with copy or something, right? So they use their copy right here. And what is something that we can now do because we've taken extra space? Now we have space to give away, right? So it's like, okay, you want to use your copy? That's fine by me. I'll give you this space now. You've earned it. You've bought it. You've purchased this space using the currency of your ultimates, your economy, right? So, okay, that's fine. I'll give this to you. And then now I'm just going to back up to, let's just say like here, where we're playing right now. All of a sudden, we're in the exact same situation as before, but we've done 2 things. One, we've wasted their time, which is really good for the defense, very bad for the attacking team. Wasting their time is how you win the game. That's how you get the clock down. That's how you get it to 0, force OT, win the game of Overwatch, right? The second thing we've done is not only have we wasted their time, we've wasted their resources as well. So in both scenarios, we have like a really, really good advantage. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Everybody understand?
It's
Okay.
looking at this.
Now, sometimes what teams will do is they'll walk too far up and they'll get punished. And then they'll be like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that because, we're going to lose like first point. Like maybe we could have full hold them. My coach is going to be mad at me, all this type of stuff. I mean, I would honestly just say, just fuck with that mentality, play aggressive, take risks, push your limits. That's how you're going to learn how to be a better player. So even if you die by playing aggressive and like pushing up and taking positions that are too far, that's fine. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And eventually you'll learn how to, not die while doing it. Okay, very stalematey right now. No one's making a move, which is interesting. Okay. Okay, interesting. All right. So they reach the objective. They go in for a very aggressive tracer dupe. Okay. Our Ashe gets stuck on a wall, I believe. We try to coach gun. Yeah, we try to coach gun. We don't realize where we're standing. Okay, our Ashe is like a free kill. We managed to get their Lucio with our Bob. We also managed to get a nade to hit their Genji. Nice sleep. My God.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Hey. Sorry.
Sarah's goaded. We kill the Bob. We get the dupe. Use pulse. All right, not bad, guys. Not bad at all. Yeah. Looks like it managed to work out for us. So we ended up trading. What was that? We traded their copy for our Bob and pulse. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Can live with it.
Did I rally?
Oh, yeah, I think that was last fight. You just didn't get it.
We rallied in
Oh,
response to the primal, and then we
Oh,
nanoed in
okay.
response to the nano blade, and then primaled at the same time that we used rally and they used primal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Again, same sort of thing. We give them a lot of space, so they're able to kind of just walk up and take a fight. Oh, this is very bad by yellow team. Really, really, really bad. Anybody see the mistake? Like the very glaring mistake?
They're not. Looks like Echo's still behind, and also the beat.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, right? Like the whole team isn't really here to use the beat. But what does using a beat actually entail? Like, what does that mean to use a beat, right?
You can't use it to like counteract.
They're either,
another one.
yeah.
You can use it to what?
You
Sorry.
can't use it to like counter one of ours, but no one was low.
You
really.
can't? Are you saying like in this context?
Yeah, like if they just use it
Yeah,
early
yeah,
like that, then
yeah.
they like if we nano Winston or something, that's just over.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Like sometimes you're going to use your beat defensively, almost reactively. And when I think of beat, I usually like to think of beat as an aggressive ultimate. Sometimes what you can kind of do is almost flip the fight in a way where it's like, okay, they use, let's say, a Genji blade, right? Boom, like, keep in mind, I'm talking about like a hypothetical. Enemy team has a Genji, they blade us, we have a Lucio, we beat the blade. But instead of us just using the beat to counter the blade, we're actually using the beat to get a leg up on the blade, right? So now that we have beat, we're actually going to go in and try to kill that Genji or kill that Sojourn with OC or something like that, right?
A tempo ult.
Yeah, sure, a tempo ult. Yeah, you could definitely say that. So in this scenario, right, they end up using their beat, but they're not using it as a response to something, which means logically they must justify this beat by doing what with it?
Getting a kill.
Yeah, getting a kill,
Value with this
right?
guy, yeah.
Playing super aggressive. This beat does absolutely nothing if they stand still. And one of the big things they messed up was number one, not everyone's in position ready to use the beat. This obviously wasn't like, I don't think planned or calmed in my mind. The other thing is, right, their Winston just used jump and then they beat. You probably want to beat when we have cooldowns to invest with that beat, right? So in my mind, if they're going to go for a beat like this, what I would probably want to see is them do some like crazy aggressive speed amp in this direction, go along this wall with their Genji and their Echo and their Winston, jump in, beat on top of backline, chase this on a brig all the way they need to get these kills, and then clean up the fight and win an OT. That's what yellow team should do. But because they've used beat like this, I feel like we probably have a decent chance to actually win this, even though we're an entire ultimate down. See how their beat really doesn't do anything? Like it actually gets zero value, right? And we end up getting a kill. And I'm assuming we can full hold here. Hopefully. Nice. We get a pick on their Echo. Notice if they had a brig here, I think there's no way this Echo is like dead. But like this Echo hasn't been healed in like a year. And that's not really Street's fault because they're worried about their monkeys who's also 1 HP. So this is kind of like an overloaded role right now, right? With the Ana Lucio, we're overloaded in doing this. Now, if you're a professional team, you can get away with it, okay? A lot of the pro teams, they'll break rules with their comps, and that's okay. But unfortunately, we're not Overwatch League pros yet, so we'll have to get there someday. Genji's gonna engage. My Winston can probably just kill him for free. Beautiful. Okay. We use Nano. We close out the fight. Okay, nice. Honestly, really good job, guys. This looks pretty clean. This looks pretty clean. I like the way that we play this. Couple things to adjust, but I think for the most part, this actually looks very, very, very strong. So you guys should feel pretty good about your Ash on a brick setup. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far?
No.
Everything makes sense. We're all good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see how we play our attack.
I will have to leave. I wish you all good luck.
No worries. Have a good day.
You do as well.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Let's see. See what's going on here. Okay. I mean, oh, are you guys doing the TP on the yellow thing?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I don't really think you have to.
We don't do this all the time.
Yeah,
I think it was the first time.
We've done it a couple of times. I wanted to do it here
Yeah,
because I wanted to
I used to actually do this a
fights.
lot back when I was coaching like tier 3 and coaching like diamond to GM teams.
I don't love it.
Yeah, the way
It
that
gives
you'll
away your
typically
game.
play it nowadays is you can kind of just have your Ana Brig play in this box, right? Your Winston can jump to here to clear this space. And as long as you own this space, then you're set up for like dives here and like just kind of walking forward and taking the map. If you want to walk here eventually, I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. But I also think it's completely fine to just play main. Like I really don't think it's that bad. Yeah, and then we also have no cover. So Street actually kills Widow, which is, you know, it's just a Street diff. Okay. And now we have, that was a very late swap to Tracer.
Well, it takes a long time to walk
Is it
back.
just because it takes so long to walk
Yeah.
back? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't really, I'm trying to think about it in theory. I don't think the rotation's that bad, but like, I also think it's kind of bad, you know? one of the reasons why this rotate might not be the most optimal
4v5 and they
is
can jump on them.
well, yeah, there's that, but there's also the fact that like if it takes this long for our sim to swap to Trey, then for these first few seconds, our Winston stuck on payload. And if they're playing like a Lucio Genji Winston variant, I don't know if I really want to be pushing these like side lanes against that comp too much. You know, I feel like we actually have there's a little bit of danger involved when they're running this Lucio character where they can kind of just do this. You get what I mean? Like they're not going to struggle to reach us if we go for a rotate like this.
Yeah, the Lucio is the scary part.
I still think this is winnable, to be fair. Great job by our Winston. This is really, really good.
Yay.
Yeah, anytime you see this character, just go kill him. It's so free for Winston to get this kill. Like this is a really good like read and recognition by our tank to be able to see like, oh, there's an opportunity for me to go in here, right? You just got to be able to carry the Lucio boop. That's the only thing. But Lucio's not looking at you right now, so this is just a free kill. Instantly devour the Genji. I think this fight looks unbelievably winnable. Yeah. Might lose our Ana, but that's okay. We should be able to kill. Oh, nice. Our Ana stays alive anyways. Yeah. Nice. So we actually did a really good job here. Now, I do think that their play would have worked if they ran like a Kiri Lucio comp, but they're running Ana Lucio, so they have no like extra support. Their casty was also staying main, so maybe their cast going in, like if they really want to execute this, then cast probably walks with the team. Lucio probably marks the Winston and speed amps, and then the Winston Genji is free to kill. So maybe it was winnable for them, but they didn't play it quite as optimally as necessary. Okay.
I wasn't sure if I could blink up there. That's why I tried.
What's up?
It just see me try to blink up there from the cart. Can't
Oh
make it.
yeah. I think I've seen people do that before, but
I was like, let's do
could
it.
be tough maybe. Okay. So it's actually the exact same thing as before. I feel like what we can do is take infinite amount of space, right? Now, to be fair, we have a Widow, but in my opinion, I feel like if we get our Widowmaker set up in a nice spot, as long as we can go and like hold this space early, it should feel really, really hard for them to like walk through these doors and actually recontest. So I think we would want to play very aggressive here. Possibly even having our Winston like start up here. I don't know how easy the angle is for Cassie to poke you out or something like that, but if we can force their Winston to jump here to force our Winston to drop, I feel like that's much better than just allowing them this rotation for free, right? So I think we should probably posture a little bit closer. Maybe even Winston could set up somewhere like just here and ready to like jump in and go. But I feel like we're playing very, very passive when we have advantages. So we want to kind of push our advantages and like suffocate the enemy team, right? You don't want to let them breathe. So yeah, do you guys kind of see this? This is a diagram that I draw. I mean, I'm always I'm like the line guy, you know. I'm always drawing fucking lines. But draw a line like this, right? This fight to you, does it look like advantage for one side or the other?
Nope.
Ignore the
No.
payload completely. Okay. It looks kind of fair, right? Like it looks like a 50-50. Right?
Yeah.
And when we're the ones that are holding and defending space, you guys should know this. We always want to have some sort of advantage. It should be like a 70-30. Okay. We should have an advantage. We've given up an advantage by allowing the map to shift 90 degrees. So previously we had all of this space. Technically, all of this belonged to us when they're coming out of their spawn. We didn't take this space. So instead of it being blue team looks this way and yellow team's retaking this way, we've allowed them to open up this door and we're stuck in this position now. Now, is this unwinnable for us? Is it any sort of advantage to yellow team? I would say probably not. I think it's still fine, but it's not optimal. And we're trying to optimize our gameplay, right? So if you want to optimize our gameplay, we want to retain that advantage, hold this space as much as we can, right? The payload's going to move naturally. We don't even need to worry about the objective. It's going to just move by itself, by like our tracer being on it or something. And then yeah, we'll be fine. Nice jump by our Winston. I think this is pretty good. Good zoning backline. Great. Good shot as well. Yeah, they fucked up a bit. They didn't retake as a team. They kind of went in with just like Winston and Lucio and Genji. Ana Brig was nowhere to be found. Or sorry, Ana Cass was nowhere to be found. So they probably need to retake more as a team. Looks like we're gonna be sticking the Widow. Okay.
You really wanted it.
Yeah, this is a very Overwatch League kind of move. They Overwatch League has a tendency to play Widowmaker a lot on Dorado. I think it's a very good Widow map. I don't think it's necessarily a bad pick, but I think at this level, it's a little bit cheeky. You know what I mean? So for example, right, we get a doink here on Mr. Sleeper, and Mr. Sleeper's taking a nap, which is good. But if we think about this from like a coaching perspective, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, right? We're holding a good angle, we hit a good headshot. That's awesome. That's great. And that's not necessarily something that is bad. Maybe you guys want to be a team that plays Widow on Dorado. And if that's the case, then I think play Widow as much as you can, keep practicing on it, and have Accio in every single game, right? But I think there's also an aspect that because we got this pick on the Cassidy, now it's a 5v4, and maybe we're not necessarily learning as much about the game when we're in a position that's just automatically advantageous as long as we click one button correctly. Do you guys kind of see my point?
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So it's not actually a bad thing at all, right? It's like, it's not something to like be discouraged about, but there's maybe an argument here that like, hey, we would like to practice a Dorado second point. And one of the best ways to get good practice is to have like, you know, good variables and good environment and good context for how we play. So if their Cassidy was alive, if their team was set up in a nice position, how would we actually take this fight? But we can't really answer that question now because their cast is dead. So now there isn't really a lot of danger to us. We can kind of just push our numbers advantage and we're probably going to come out on top. Okay. So I would advise staying away from Widow, at least at this level. I think it's more important for you guys to play good comps that are solid and have fundamentals kind of built into it. So you guys can practice stuff like 3, 2, 1, go, like throwing an anti as an engage, waiting for your Winston cycle to be ready before you engage, letting your tracer get set up before you engage, and just making sure that your engages look really good, whether that's with like a brawl comp or with a dive comp. I think as long as you work on your engages, it'll be great. All right, we're getting into some uncharted territory now, okay? We get the doink. Our Winston's jumping in. This jump actually looks pretty damn good, in my opinion. It does a really good job of like positionally speaking. Landing behind them and getting this nice bubble split looks great. If this was like a flat map and my whole team was like here, you know? Aside from that, the jump looks great. But in this position, it's kind of just a 1v4 jump, right? Like my tracer, there's no way I'm there. Maybe there's a tracer tag. I don't play tracer, so I don't know.
I don't think so.
I just tell my tracers where to go, you know. But unless tracer can somehow fly, my tracer's not in a position to go for this. Unless my on a brig can move at 20 miles per hour, they're not going to be here, you know. So my Widowmaker can maybe try to find an angle, but even that seems like a little bit tricky from this LOS, right? So it's kind of like a solo monkey jump, and it actually ends up leading to us getting antied, which this is exactly what I want. The way that Street plays this is good. Okay. When you realize that you have an advantage against a Winston who has used his jump aggressively on top of your position, you want to walk into his bubble. So here, Street, I actually want you to like go into this guy, right?
I usually do when a monkey dives me. I walk into their bubble, yeah.
Good. Okay. Good. Yeah. This is beautiful. We get a great nade. Awesome. We get a mutual. So our Genji gets healed a bit. We get healed a bit. And then Winston gets antied. And because this anti got hit on us, we end up using our jump to get away. But then look here, we turn around and then we start to primal, right? So even though we're in a 5v4, we got our ultimate forced. And that shouldn't really happen, right? So in my opinion, I think there's an argument that if we got this pick on the Cassidy, then it's reasonable to assume that we have an advantage in this fight. Not only do we have an advantage in this fight because we are simply up a player, but what was the first weakness of their comp that we isolated at the beginning of this VOD? Genji, sure. Yeah, that is actually the correct answer. But what was, I guess, the second one that we talked about? What character are they lacking?
The cart pressure.
Yeah, they're lacking cart pressure, right? So if you really think about it, if my Ana Brig sit here and my Winston does nothing, what do they could try, you know? Like
that's the best option.
Yeah, I mean they could definitely try, but I mean even if my Ana Brig is stacked on the cart and we just sit here as a 5, what do they do? You know, like they're probably going to try to drop and engage, which I think would be, you know, fairly reasonable. But to be fair, if we kind of just do nothing, we're sort of winning the game because my trace is just pushing the cart for free. So I don't really think this fight for our team is necessary. I think they're pretty happy to fight. You know, I think they're probably fine with it. But for us, I feel like we're investing our primal, which is a big resource, into a fight that doesn't really matter because we don't need to win a fight to win the game. We just need to push the cart. And right now we're already doing that. So maybe we invest in that win condition instead of trying to invest in like a primal win condition and like playing super aggressive with our Winston. Basically, don't need to force plays if you already are pushing cart and you already have an advantage, right? So look, we actually lose both our Ana and our Brig. Guess what? Doesn't really matter. We're pushing cart. We've gotten the cart from here all the way down this street to over here. So we're feeling pretty comfortable. My Widow's going to get... Oh, never mind. I thought they were going to jump my Widow. I guess not. Okay. Okay, Anaberg's going for a rotation again. I think that's reasonable. Nice. Casti tried to hide and we have walls, so unfortunate. Nice, good right click. This looks good, guys, yeah. Looks good, looks good. Widow set up in a nice position, looks good. I think if you are going to play the Widow, then kind of similar to the other macro that I talked about like getting set up close and like holding ideal positions. I think there's a really good argument that we should be doing that regardless of the comp that we're on. But I think it's even more important for a Widowmaker to do that as well. I think this is too easy for a Winston to reach. I feel like this jump to land high and then drop on Widow just feels way too easy to reach. So I feel like as a Widowmaker, I'd rather be set up in a position that's maybe on the high ground and is like a lot farther away. Like maybe holding a position like this could be good. Maybe a position like somewhere in these windows could be good. Maybe a position all the way back like here could be really good. You know, you want to make yourself as difficult to reach as possible so you can get as much value before they actually reach you. Okay. Also, okay, Sarah Lee's pushed up very far.
I thought I had time. I did not have time.
Let's see. I don't hate the aggression. Yeah, and then did my Brig die? Oh no, my Brig's over here. Okay. It's kind of interesting.
We didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think we communicated that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we did. definitely does not look like we did. Yeah, I think you guys would probably want to end up around the same area. In an area like this, it's very hard to care for each other across the gap. So I think you kind of want to end up like at least on the same side of the gap.
I tried packing you here too, and I can't reach.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a little bit too far. Okay.
I knew the nano was coming. I wanted the separate. Not kidding.
Paladin.
This
When we're on the Brig character, if we bash away here, are we alive or are we dead?
Live?
Probably dead. Probably dead. I would assume dead. What is the absolute number one best thing we can do here?
Whip shot him.
180 whip shot.
Absolutely. Right? When we do this.
Wait.
Well, I mean, well, we didn't die. Akia's dead, but that's okay.
Yeah,
we have like a sacrificial.
He wanted to switch anyway.
You only have to be faster than the Widowmaker.
Yeah, well, exactly. Right. Yeah. It's like when you try to outrun a bear, you don't really need to be faster than the bear. You just got to outrun the person next to you, you know? So that's fine. Although in this case, it's not a bear, it's a monkey. So we outran the monkey. Congratulations. But yeah, if we hit this boop, even if he gets a jump like in another few seconds, it's such a long amount of time that the amount of distance you can travel safely is so much better. So you actually want to commit to like facing down this monkey and like just bonking him so he falls down.
Okay.
Is way safer. Yeah, and it might have kept Akio alive, but that's okay. You know. Alrighty. So something I'd be really curious about doing is thinking about a couple things. Number one, thinking about, is there a way for us to abuse our objective control that is superior with our comp over the enemy team? And number two, what's a different win condition, right? Well, if pushing the cart is not possible, another win condition could be either getting a kill, right? Or just controlling the space that matters, controlling like the important and most relevant space. So I think the way that we need to be setting up for this next fight is something along those lines, right? Is there a way that we can abuse cart pressure? Is there a way that we can either take relevant space or figure out a way to get a kill? So let's see how we kind of solve that problem, and then maybe I'll tell you guys what I would be thinking about. Okay. Okay. So currently, how currently which team has more cart pressure and objective pressure?
Yellow.
There's
Yellow team. Okay.
Yellow team.
So is there any reason for Thumper to even really peek here?
No.
No.
Okay. So Thumper, no peek. Because we keep having to use a bunch of blinks and go for like a little mini because our brig's nowhere to be found. So we're just hanging out as a tracer, right? Okay. All right. So this is where things get interesting. Okay. So there is this idea in Overwatch of forcing a choice on the enemy team, which I think is a very, very powerful strategy. There's also an argument in Overwatch on investing all of our resources in one goal, into accomplishing and succeeding at one thing. So for example, here, I feel like what our tracer is doing is trying to force the cart and like play for objective pressure. And then meanwhile, I feel like what we're doing over here is setting up and either trying to take space or trying to get some sort of kill. But I would maybe argue that like going for this jump is actually extremely dangerous and extremely hard to do. Why would that be the case?
Not hard to sleep that and
So
Yeah,
what was
sleep,
the setup?
sleep
Neither
is
is our
possible.
tracer.
Yeah, sleep is
Mm.
possible for sure.
we're also surrounded by like a lot of people.
Yes, we're also jumping into their space where they can absorb us with a bunch of angles. The other thing is if their Lucio wasn't trolling, where's their Lucio? Oh, he's right. Oh, they're inside of the monkey. Okay.
Oh my god.
If their Lucio was paying attention, they would just boop you every single time, like
Oh, yeah.
100 times out of 100. It's the easiest boop of all time. And if I see a Winston drop while like just locking his eyes here, walks forward a bit, and then jumps in a straight line, I mean, even I'm booping that, and my mechanics are horrible. So it's very, very obvious that you're jumping, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the body language is so easy to read. The angle is not great. The space is too open. A lot of different things that can go wrong here. So I feel like this cannot be optimal. What I think would be better would be us using our Widowmaker somehow to create some sort of threat that they have to respond to, where we're leveraging our Widow as a win condition versus us reaching them with Winston to get a kill. If they're playing in Narnia and we can't reach them, then logically there has to be a way for us to control either the objective, or if we have a character like this, we can just play for a poke advantage, right? So imagine that this is just a flat battlefield, okay? It's just a flat plane, right? If my team is over here and your team's over here, who wins?
Our team eventually.
We do, because we got a Widow.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily hate situations where we kind of have to sit still and do nothing, right? If we're able to force a situation where we can just chill and let my Widowmaker hit a bunch of shots, we will eventually win, right? At least on paper. So I think if their backline's going to be playing this far back, maybe there's a world where a Widowmaker can actually come with us and take an angle like this and make them try to dive and engage into us. And maybe if they have to engage here, this, by the same logic of us trying to engage across the gap into them, also feels really bad for them, right? Because the space is so open, and my Brig just needs to hit a whip shot on the Winston. And if it's just a Genji engaging alone, right? Because the Cassidy definitely can't cross this gap, right? If it's just the Genji going in alone, I mean, I have a Winston and an Ana and a Brig. Like the Genji's not going to get a kill, right? And the more they invest attention over here, I feel like the less attention they're investing in the payload. So we're forcing them to make a choice. I feel like what we're doing right now is we're being a little bit too one-dimensional in the way that we're taking this fight, right? We're not thinking about win conditions. We're not thinking about, hey, maybe pushing point is the correct play. Maybe going for a dive is the correct play. Maybe getting my Widowmaker set up and waiting for a response is the right play. I think all three can actually work if you execute it right. But I think if you're going to invest super heavily into going for this play like this, then maybe it'd be better to have our Tracer set up on an angle and our Widowmaker set up on an angle, using like a grapple to go up into the air just to hit a body shot on an Ana to confirm this kill, you know? So maybe what we could try to do, not saying that this is a good jump, but if we were to go for this jump, maybe as my Winston's jumping in, my Widow's grappling up to like here, looking for this angle here, my Tracer's going up the stairs and pinching from behind, right? Is that the right call? Is that the most optimal play to go for the kill win condition? Maybe not, but that would be the absolute best way to execute it, right? And I think there's an argument for, you know, kind of investing everything we have into making something work. The more resources we invest into something, the more likely it is to succeed. Okay. Everybody understand so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just need to think about basically when we're fight planning, it's kind of in the name, fight planning. We need to be able to plan for something to accomplish something. It can't just be, let's just go in and see what happens. There needs to be some sort of reason for what we do, like a justification for our actions. Okay. Did we know that this Genji was coming towards us? Definitely knew he was underneath us. Okay.
I don't want to.
Okay, nice.
That is believed.
Yeah, so I think in the 2v1, if you have an Ana Brig versus one Genji, Ana Brig should win that. So I think that's like a good fight for us to take, you know, like even though we were kind of alone as Ana Brig, I feel like we should be okay with that fight. This bubble I really do not like at all.
Yeah.
This is very, very, very bad. The reason why this bubble matters so much is because just like how we talked about before, just like when we're on the defender side, we're now technically on the attacker side, but in my mind, we're defending, right? This is our space. We want the 70, they have the 30, okay? So their possible points of entry, okay, is going through this door, going through this door, going through this door. Those are the main three that we need to worry about. So let's do our best to mark and control that space, right? Let's do our best to mark and control those angles. My Tracer's pushing payload. That's completely fine. Maybe my Winston can play here. Maybe my Winston can play here. This allows my Winston to control this angle, stop anyone from reaching my Widow. It also allows my Winston to drop onto the point and control this angle if possible, right? Then maybe my Widow's LOS is controlling like these two or something. So it's just about controlling the entry points and making their retake feel as difficult as possible, right? When we use this bubble, if they're planning to touch, which it looks like they are, we now don't have our bubble for that fight. And that's very, very, very punishing. Because usually what we would like to do is if their Winston tries to engage or their Genji tries to engage, what my Winston can do is just drop down, bubble off this choke, and their Ana gets no value. That's it. If all my Winston does this entire fight is just get their Ana out of the fight and just trade himself off basically, so like my Winston's not in the fight, but their Ana's not in the fight, we will absolutely win. 1000%. Tracer is too good on the objective. Widowmaker is too good uncontested, right? Ana Brig is too good, just in general. So, like for sure, we will be fine. Okay. Nice. They end up C9ing. So it could be a good time to swap the Widow now. Do we keep it?
I don't remember. We might.
I remember.
Hanzo. Okay. Hanzo is. Let me think. Honestly, Hanzo's probably okay in this matchup. I don't necessarily hate it. I think Cassidy has to be better, is what I'm thinking, but I don't think Hanzo's really that bad. Although I think if you're playing the Hanzo, it's fine to like spam in this direction. But I wonder if we could maybe look for yeah, I don't really know actually. Like it's probably okay. All right, their Genji's just in no man's land. Why is their team rotating away? Why is their team so scared?
Oh my
My
god.
God.
I
The team is
remember.
very scared. Why is yellow
No,
team
it's
so
actually
scared here? Does anybody know?
Waiting for their cast, probably.
I guess it must have just been the Hanzo.
I mean, sure, but we could also just, you know,
They must
hit
have
an ante.
had preseason 9 fear going on.
That is true.
Because they
Or
saw their
Genji.
Genji die instantly.
I hit him with the
Yeah,
combo.
so the idea that I had was like maybe what we could have is Ana stays main, and then Brig kind of like splits the difference between Ana and Hanzo, and then maybe our Hanzo eventually gets like an angle like this. So like looks pretty good. And then like I feel like if you're playing a position like this, then it's like a bait kind of. It's like a bait Hanzo. So
Oh,
if
you
they
get
if they don't
behind
clear
them.
your Hanzo just instantly kills 5. Like eventually he will kill everyone standing in front of him. You know, like this is like a Hanzo's dream. If the Winston tries to jump, it's actually kind of hard to like jump into this. So he's probably gonna like land and like ricochet inside a little bit and then just like end up about here. If Hanzo can just drop and then like Briggs right here, your Hanzo's completely fine, right? And if their Winston's investing a jump in this direction to get your Hanzo, he's not jumping your Ana that's playing main. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like if the Winston invests jump instead on the Ana, then the Brig's like right here, and you just get packed, and your entire team's also right here. Like your Winston's here and your Tracer's here as well. So the Winston can't reasonably go on anyone. And also the Hanzo has the option of just like dropping and then like randomly peeking on a 3-2-1 timing to start shooting. Kind of similar to what I was thinking over here with the Widowmaker, is like the Widowmaker's not standing here and then your Winston jumps in. It's your Winston jumps in as your Widowmaker peaks, so it's unexpected, so it's like a surprise. So the Hanzo with like, he doesn't even need to worry about grapple. He can just keep perma wall climbing. So he could like drop down whenever he wants, heal whenever he wants, get packed whenever he wants, climb back up, shoot, drop down, climb back up, shoot, drop down. Like it looks so hard for them to stop, right? And all the while, all of these win conditions look great. And then our Tracer's also just pushing the point, and they have no one to stop that, you know? So looks pretty hard for us to lose, right? But yeah, I think low key, I feel like I'd rather have my Ana on low ground here, which I know sounds
Okay.
a little bit strange, but
No, actually, I see your reasoning.
you can't see what my brain's cooking up here.
Also,
'Cause
yeah, it's a good nade location too.
it's a great
And
nade location.
hit
You
the
can kind of just
wall there.
splash it on a pillar or a wall or something. It's really not too hard to hit the nade. The
Yeah.
other argument here is that if you really look at the comms, I feel like their ability to brawl in close space is way better than ours, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
I
it's
think
the
their
big
Genji
Genji.
for sure loses a lot of value in that sort of exchange. But I think Cassidy right click and Lucio speed amp with like sustainability is difficult for us to kind of like brawl that space, right?
Yeah.
I think the Cassidy would get so much value. So I feel like if my Ana Brig is over here trying to brawl through here with my monkey, that kind of makes their comp okay. But if we play in a more spacey, angly way with like good engage timings, I feel like our comp is infinitely better. Like, I feel like we should just hard abuse the enemy team. Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward angle for Hanzo down here though, right? Because like, this is awkward to shoot at as a Hanzo, I feel like. Not saying it's necessarily a bad angle, but it's not as comfortable as being a Hanzo just
Shooting
spamming
down
storm arrows in a straight line and
yeah.
taking 5, right? As opposed to Ana, you can just heal Monkey because Monkey's huge. And then you can just yoink a nade whenever you want over here and just splash 5. So kind of feel like we played the opposite positions in a way, sort of swap positions. Alrighty. How does our Ana Brig make it over there? I think we get lost here, don't we? We probably get really lost here. Oh God. I mean, we're alive. You know what I mean? Like we're still alive. My Ana's
It
not
was an
dying because we have
intentional
a
bait.
Brig, and my Brig's not dying because
We have a
my
nano.
Ana hit a good sleep, and then also has Nano just ready, in like a couple seconds. But I think there's like a period of time right here, is like a window where I feel like as a team we get really split in what we're trying to do. My Winston's over here taking a 1v1. That's probably okay, right? Like I think this is completely fine. My Ana Brig is set up in a nice position. They're okay. My Hanzo's playing main, and then my Tracer's on point. So right now everything looks okay. But then like once we get to here, I feel like we don't really know what we're doing. I think Thumper's going for the Ana. I'm not really sure. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So Thumper's
If there
trying
were
to
too
go
many on
backline.
cart, I would have died.
Right. Which I think is fair, right? So Thumper's trying to go backline. My Hanzo ends up going main. I feel like this is probably not the play. I think as a Hanzo, I'd rather climb this and take like this space and try to challenge the Genji. And also this makes it easier for my Brig to pack me. So even though this might look dangerous, I feel like it's actually safer because my Brig has LOS of me. Versus if I take an angle like this, no one can see me. And if my Brig wanted to see
Very
me, she'd have to
jumpable.
peek like this, and then she's dead, right? So I think like controlling the high ground space first would be great. And then after we control all of these like really nice kind of angles on the border of the map, we can start to work our way inwards and control the objective, right? I think my auto brig also gets split here a little bit by the Winston. We end up kiting in 2 separate directions. Not the end of the world, but they end up going for a super aggressive play here, which makes things a little bit dicey. We had a great sleep, and then we managed to barely stabilize with a nano, so it actually ends up like looking really, really good for us. I think there's really nothing wrong with the way that we took this fight if we had the nano like 5 seconds sooner. But I think if we don't have our nano available, then we need to be careful of like possible engages that could happen, you know?
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Not too sure about that one.
He wanted me.
Not
He
too
wanted
sure
me.
about that one. Maybe, yeah.
He was a
I don't-
ringer and he was my friend, so that's.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. We have a street sweeper and a sleeper, and they're going for a nano high noon in their spawn. Yeah, I'm probably not a fan of that. You know, like
No,
it's probably a better way to use nano. Probably a better way to use high noon. But
It was scary when you didn't know where it was, though.
and
Oh, yeah.
and we end up C9ing. So that's yeah.
I mean, I
it's a
don't know if
little.
they could have touched. To be fair, I don't know.
Yeah,
Unless
we
it's
didn't
swapped.
touch.
Probably could have, but it would have been
I
very,
feel like you probably could have touched. Maybe.
would have been a desperate hold, but it probably was.
Here's what's gonna happen, right? Sleeper beelines for the point, rolls into touch, gets nanoed, kills 5.
Oh yeah, that would make
yeah.
more sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be the play.
Yeah, just headshots everyone.
I mean, it looked cool. It looked intimidating, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll take it. All right. Any other maps that we want to take a look at?
I think we could anything.
How long have we been voting
Ye-
for?
1
About
hour
an
and 2
hour.
minutes.
1 hour and 2 minutes. Nice. It's like right on time. I can take a look at another map though.
Let's see.
I did
Yes,
have a
Rod.
question.
Yep. What's up?
Unrelated to this VOD. Today we played against what was it? the Maga Venture Tracer.
Oh, I think
Oh,
everybody's working on
God.
that one. Don't
Are
worry.
people,
How
are people
do-
copying comps already?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
counter
Okay.
it?
You don't.
It's such a hard answer.
Nobody
thinking,
knows.
Like I was thinking, mirror it. To be honest.
Okay.
At first.
What variation of the Malga Venture were they playing? What was the other DPS?
They played Malga
Tracer,
Venture, Tracer.
Tracer or Soj? I think they swapped it, right? Sometimes.
Kiri Lucio?
Maybe
or
Lucio. Yeah, Kiri
Yes,
Lucio.
maybe so.
oh dear God.
was
It'll probably
so
get nerfed.
annoying.
I don't even worry.
Okay, there's because I'm thinking about how can I answer this in a practical way, right? If I think about this in a practical sense, it's very hard for me to answer that because it's not necessarily that the comp is. I think there's skill in the comp for sure at the highest level, but I think this is one of those comps that you could argue at this level kind of becomes like the Ram Moira stuff, like the Ram Moira May Reaper.
That's
Just
what I'm
so
thinking. That's
easy.
exactly what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
where
like,
it's very there's a win condition for the comp that's very difficult for this level to stop, and it's very one dimensional, and
Very fast.
therefore it's simple, therefore it's straightforward and kind of easy to play and execute that win condition. Are they going to be taking great angles? Probably not. Are they going to be min-maxing every single cooldown? Probably not. But if a team at this level can just learn how to 3-2-1 engage, that comp's going to feel unstoppable. There's a Venture burrowing you, like splash damaging you everywhere. There's Genji's dashing through you, Sojourn's throwing slows, fucking Lucio, Kiri's Suzuing and cleansing and speeding, and Malga stomping and shooting 5 people. Like, it's tough to say. And then you're caught in a fucking cage every second fight, and it's like, like what do you do? Mirroring it is probably always okay to do. It's a mirror, so mathematically speaking, it's just an even fight. Depends on how well you're able to run it. But I also think it's logical to assume that if you're facing a team who runs that comp, then they've probably practiced it at least a couple times. Although it is a newer comp, I've known about it for weeks because I've been seeing it in scrims every single day. But for the general
Actually,
public,
we started playing it before Dallas.
right?
You might
Yeah,
remember you actually suggested it to us before Venture got buffed.
which is interesting because like maybe I predicted it or something. I don't know, but I don't think I was seeing Malgaventure when I mentioned it to you guys, or maybe I had. Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. But
When we played it, it was we played it a couple times. I don't think Salt was there for that, but it was essentially I don't know. I watched the enemy team try to counter it in live time, and it was like they just couldn't do anything.
yeah, it feels pretty unstoppable, right? So it's tough. I mean, if I knew the answer to that question, maybe I would have beaten the Korean teams. I don't know. But that's something that I think even if you ask Christopher that question, he might not be able to come up with a great answer for you. So yeah, I don't really have a great answer on how to beat that, especially at this level.
We tried ball. It was fun.
Yeah, I don't
It actually
think
worked the
Ball's- I
best.
don't think Ball's the play.
It worked okay.
It ended up
We beat it when we
working a
played
little bit.
Sombra.
We were trading fights at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I actually think. we only
So
beat it-
here's my genuine take, right? Is I think Sigma can beat it, but it's fucking hard, and even for a professional level team, it was still really hard. I think if you run something like a mirror comp, but you run like a Genji instead of a Trey, you could probably get away with it. I think. Let me think. You can maybe get away with running like a Cast Sigma BAP comp with Lucio.
That was one thing.
I actually think what you guys could try as like an experiment is Sigma BAP Brig, and just play to absorb and live the Malga engage, because
I
I
thought
think
it was just like stack as 5 people and then just farm window and just try to burst the Malga as in quick.
you could try. Yeah, I think a lot of it also is based upon what mode you're playing. So if you're playing like a flashpoint and you have point capped, then you can kind of take like an AFK fight and you should feel really comfortable. But if it's like a escort map or something, or it's like a bot push map or something, then I feel like there's certain situations where comps feel better or feel worse based on who has control of the payload, who doesn't, who's on attack, who's on defense, what map are you playing on, stuff like that. But maybe you guys could do some sort of Batbird comp with a Sigma and make that work. I think we tried to play Mei against it and it didn't feel horrible, but it didn't feel good enough to justify picking Mei. Yeah, and then like people might try to come up with like Bastion as an answer, but I feel like Bastion's just gonna die as soon as they swap to.
So bad against
like
Malga.
if it's like a Genji or Tracer, I feel like you just get mogged.
He can melt you.
Yeah, so don't really have a great answer. I think mirroring's probably fine. I think playing mirror with like a Genji could maybe be good. I think the Sigma comp can beat it. But I also think that the best piece of advice I can give you is for that comp to work. I assume the people at your level are going to be basically playing it in one style. It's the big 3-2-1 go, right? They just find a push timing and they just run on you. If you know that's going to happen, right? And you know that that's their win condition, then 2 things come to mind. Number 1, expect it, right? Position accordingly. Pre-kite is what I call it. So if you're a BAP player and you're playing into that comp, do not just hard stack like on your team and just like play close corner to their tank and then get walked, stomped, one-shotted before you can even immo, right? Like space yourself a bit. Don't walk into angles, but I think you kind of get my point, right? Like expect the dive is going to happen, expect the rush is going to happen, things of that nature. The other thing that I could recommend, I guess there's a third one as well, but the second thing I could recommend is thinking about the map that you're playing on. So if it's something like a Gibraltar, you're probably fine to just play like typical comps into it. I don't think it'll beat you, you know? Like I don't think that's a comp that you can force on every single map. Falcons tried on Gibraltar. They're probably the best Malga team in the world. They weren't able to make any progress. So I don't think it's that great. I don't think that one example is good enough to justify what I'm saying, but I think in theory that comp does not feel great depending on maps that have good high ground and are like more dive oriented. So I think it's more of like a brawly sort of rush map sort of comp, right? And then the third thing was going to be something really smart, but I forgot what I was going to say. So that happens.
Damn, unlucky.
Yeah, unlucky.
Lost the time.
That would have been the secret, but you know, whatever happens.
Overwatch was doomed forever now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. But I think that's the best advice I can give you. The comp's
Oh, no,
good,
thank
you know. The Korean teams proved that on LAN, and I think it's solid. I think it's tough to beat. Yeah. Can maybe even experiment with a Pharah comp. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Can maybe try playing Pharah. Pharah actually feels quite good. Echo also is maybe an option. The comp that I thought of originally, I think Hottie had the exact same idea, was an Echo Sigma BAP Brig comp. Because like we were thinking about how like what characters feel good into the Mauga comp, and like a flyer like Echo who can dupe the Mauga just sounds so good. So you would have an Echo, but we also have Landon for Baptiste, and Bap's a character that is going to struggle to heal Echo. Like they don't really have a lot of good synergy. If you're extremely good, you can make it work, but I would argue it's suboptimal. So it's either you'd have to swap the Bap to a Kiriko, or you'd have to play something other than a Lucio. So those are your two logical steps. And so it's either like
Don
a Kiri
brought the
Lucio comp
answer.
with Echo, or it's Bap
Who's better?
Brig with an Echo, because the Brig can now be like the Kiri that pockets, you know, but
Yeah.
just for an Echo. So maybe you guys can try that, like Sig, Bap Brig, Echo, and then I don't know, like probably a Cassidy, maybe a Sojourn. Honestly, I'd probably say Sojourn. I don't think I tested that with the guys. I don't think Space Station ever played that, but you guys could definitely try it and see if it works. Just make sure to try to take a step back whenever the Mauga comp's walking on you. Try to absorb it as best as you can. The Brig should be able to stabilize you a lot, and then make sure for Sojin Echo, try to have your stickies and try to have your slow available. So on their stomp engage, you
Does
can
it
just
still slow?
no, but I call it
Oh.
slow. A lot of people.
I
Still
was
call
gonna
it slow.
say, I'm like, am I just an idiot?
Nope, it doesn't slow. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. But I just call it slow because that's just
Okay, I
what's known by,
understand.
you know. But yeah, so use your Soj slow, use your stickies, try to like spam them as much as you can in the neutral. Then when they do their big 3-2-1, get everything you can to survive. Use your MO, use your shift, use everything you got, use your you know, your packs and everything. And then if you manage to live, you're probably gonna win the fight. Because I think your character should be really good. It's also very important for your Sigma to min-max his rock usage. Do not rock early, or the Mauga's going to just sprint and then absorb the rock and eat it for breakfast, and then stomp on your face, and then you're dead. So you want to try to use the rock usually after the stomp, or if you know that he doesn't have it, then you can try to use it, and you should be able to do infinite damage off of that rock. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? I guess we can probably wrap it up there. But anybody have any more questions for me?
No, I think I'm good for now.
Thank you.
We're all
Yeah, I
chilling.
was
Everybody good?
crying myself to like